Welcome to the calendar overview video. The admin calendar is where you're going to be spending the majority of your time. Here is where you're going to be managing appointments, viewing your schedule, managing clients, even looking at charts, intake forms, and invoicing. So the calendar, of course, accessed from the main menu. And depending on whether you are an owner, a service provider, or an administrator, you will have a little bit of a different view layout. More in terms of these drop downs, what's displayed in those, and maybe some of these other icons that relate to some outstanding forms or appointments that need to be confirmed, so on and so forth. So here I am, I'm in as an owner or an administrator, so I have full access. So starting from the top left, I'm able to filter the view by specific service providers, or in this case, everybody overlaid on top of one another. I can also filter the view by specific services. There is a waitlist button, and clicking that will expand to show you how many people are on the list. You can add somebody to the list from here. If you have appointments that need to be confirmed or need to be assigned, these are a little more specific, and if you check out our services video, you'll get a little more insight into what these actually entail. And also, if there are any outstanding forms, they're listed here on this screen. You can click on this button to see any outstanding forms. You can always check out our video on intake forms for more information. You also have an option here for privacy. If you're in a high traffic area and there's a possibility of clients looking around at your computer, you could always hide client names for privacy. So all the client names disappear. Even if you hover over the appointments, you don't see the client names. There's also a client search here. So if you're just looking to find a client, and you can just search any 3 letters of their name, click on that client's name to open up a brief information screen, or you can go and edit the entire profile to actually make edits to the client profile details. Next line down here, this is a value calculator, which is calculating the value of the appointments on any particular screen. So whether I'm looking at this in the week view, the month view, the day view, it calculates how many appointments there are listed and what the value of those are based on the service fee. That doesn't include any discounts and whatnot. This is something that's controlled by the company owner. They can decide whether this is displayed or not. The pattern guide displays the patterns that may be displayed in the calendar based on the schedule for the particular service provider. So, for example, if I filter my view here to Mark Smith, we'll see here that Mark's weekly schedule, he actually has some areas here where he doesn't allow first-time clients to book. And he also has an area here, you can see with these dots, where he prefers that clients contact the office to book appointments. So we can see that here from this pattern guide. Of course, you can move from week to week, day to day. I'm going to go back to all service providers here. And of course, if you've moved around, you can go quickly back to this week or today, depending, or this month, depending what view you're in. You can go to a specific date by clicking on the date option. You can go, of course, by year, month, day. There is the month view. There is a 3-month view. Week we saw, and then there's also a day view and a list view. So I'll go back to the week view here. So another option is this little gear icon, and this actually allows you to define how the appointment edit screen is laid out for you. Everyone has their own preference. It can open on the left-hand side, on the right-hand side, or as a full page. So we'll see what those look like in just a moment. I like to have mine open on the left side. So, of course, you can see if you hover over an appointment, a little more detail shows up. If I click on an appointment, the appointment details open out on the left-hand side because that's what my preference was. I could also open it a full page if I needed to. Over the top of the appointment are shortcuts to different sections of the appointment. So, for example, the appointment invoice. If you sell packages, there's a package page, additional notifications, which are people who might need to be notified for an appointment. There is a billing search area, so you can search for invoices for a particular client. There is an appointment history and stats. This is if you want to answer any quick questions. What's your client's next appointment? When was their last one? Had they had any no-shows? There's also an audit trail. Anytime you do something or somebody does something to an appointment, book it, cancel it, change it, make an adjustment on an invoice, that information is laid out here in the audit trail. If you have e-charts or digital session notes in your practice, this is where you will be able to access that information. And you want to check out our e-charts and session notes video for more details on that. And then also the intake forms or digital forms if you're using any of those. And of course, you can always check out our video on intake forms for more information about that. I'll go back here just to the appointment display to look at some of the things that you can do here. Now, depending if this is an appointment in the past or in the future, there will be different controls here. So in this case, I can move, I can copy, I can cancel the appointment and either choose to send an email to the client or not. I can request a review. This appointment was in the past, so I can send a review email to the client. If this appointment was in the future, this button would actually be an option to resend the confirmation email. Below that is the email tracking. If you click on that, you can see here if there was any information that it would be displaying here. In this case, this client doesn't actually have an email address, so we wouldn't have sent them any emails. But if there were any emails sent, they'd be listed here. When the email was sent, whether it was opened, whether it was clicked on. In fact, let's find one over here. Let's look for Michelle Reyes. And she also doesn't have an email. Let's look at Sally Smart. Great. So let's look at Sally's here. And you see, I can just click around on the appointments, and that information updates really quickly here over on the left-hand side. So we can see here, there's a little more to this email tracking. We can see that a health history form was sent, the confirmation was sent, a link was clicked. So really valuable information in the email tracking. You can expand the client information here right below the client's name. Maybe you want to get access to their phone number or birth date or whatnot. You can also click on the Edit Client button, which will open up their full profile, allowing you to make any changes to the client information. If you need to mark an appointment as no-show, you can do that here. If you're in the habit of marking your patients as arrived or your clients as arrived, you can click on the arrived option, which will then create a darker border around, so it will be visually different than all the other appointments. If you need to edit an appointment information, something like the service or the service provider, as you hover over top of these, you can see that you can click on the edit pencil, which will then change these into drop downs. So I'll click on that, and you'll see here that now I can make a change to the service provider. Then I can also add, of course, any notes about the client. These are just general notes, things like maybe the client is always late, or they have issue with strong smells. So these are all internal notes. These are notes only visible from the admin calendar. These are more general. This one is the current appointment note, so something about this particular appointment. Maybe they called in, said they were going to be a few minutes late. Maybe you need to remind yourself that they need to provide their insurance documents. And then the note to a client in the email notification. So if you were to put something in here and resend the confirmation email, or a reminder email is sent, then this information would be at the top of the email. It would be a text line stating that that was a note to the client. So that is the appointment information. I'm going to close that for the moment. Of course, the calendar is drag and drop, so I can drag and drop an appointment anywhere within the calendar, and we can set it down into a new time. I'm going to move that. And then, of course, if I needed to change it to something outside of this week, for example, then I would use the move button in the appointment edit screen and move to the next week. You'll see up here there is a move bar, so I'll move to the next week. And then I'll just place the appointment where it needs to be. I'm going to move it. And it's that easy. So we've covered editing an appointment. Now, what about booking an appointment? It's pretty straightforward. Just go to the date and the time that you want to book the appointment. Click into the time. If you're booking a time off appointment, you can click the block time off. What that does is that blocks out some time off into your calendar. In this case, we'll do a client appointment booking, and I will look for one of my existing clients and then just choose what service I want to book, who I want to book that service with, and of course, if there's any notes I want to add there. And I even have the option here to send the invoice to the client immediately if I wanted to do that. If this is a repeat series, there's also a repeat appointment option where you can set to repeat this daily, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, set the number of occurrences or an end date, and you can set any number of appointments through that option. In this case, I'm going to book a single appointment. I'm going to confirm the appointment's on the calendar, and the client and the service provider would have received email notifications and possibly SMS if you have SMS turned on. So one other thing to mention is that all of this, of course, is accessible on your mobile device. So example here, if I was on let's say a smartphone, this is what the week view would look like. This is my day view. If I click on the day view, again, I open the appointments here. They open up and it looks very similar to the appointments that you're working with on the desktop, except the menu item or getting to those different sections is a little bit different here. Here's a menu at the top right. So if I wanted to look at the invoice, for example, I can do that from here, and then I can just come back up to this menu to go back to the appointment details. So the system is accessible on any mobile device, tablet. There's no need to download an app or install an app. Everything is just done through the web browser, logging in with your existing credentials. So that covers it for the calendar overview. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. We love to hear from you. Thanks for choosing Click4Time.